Today I'm wearing a silver watch in memory of my granddad's cousin. We're gonna unbox a very special watch. I think that might be that when it comes to watch collecting for me. I got 7 watches, with this one included, which pretty much makes one for every day of the week. And I don't think I need more than that. So I think with this piece, I will close off my watch collection. And I got this piece for a very sentimental reason. I will tell you this story as I unbox the product, because I don't want you guys to fall asleep on me. So when I was a child, my grandfather used to wear this black Timex, and I remember this watch distinctively. You could hear this watch ticking on the other side of the kitchen, and it just looked dusty as fuck. However, it really looked like a fitting piece for a man, you know what I mean? That was his watch. Whenever he had a watch on, which was almost always when I was a kid, that was the watch that he's wearing. And I'm not gonna lie, it never really got me interested into watches. But my grandfather, I used to hang out with him a lot when I was a child, especially when he picked me up from school and he'd take me to his work. And essentially, we would just chill with loads of guys mainly. One of them was his cousin, Antonio Diaz, which I've mentioned here at the beginning of this video. I don't remember him very well at this point because it was years ago that we used to hang out. And basically, he died a few years back. I remember this man distinctively because of his watch. Like, he used to walk in, say hello to everyone, and I remember while he was giving out handshakes to people, that used to be the coolest thing because he would have this silver watch hanging off his wrist. And as a child, I remember thinking like, yo, that is so cool. And eventually my grandfather ended up getting me a Swatch, quartz watch, which it's not this one. I pointed at this one for no reason, but I think I still have that watch somewhere still hidden in one of my boxes. But essentially, these are the men that got me into watches, my grandfather and his cousin. The watch that we're unboxing today is a Timex, and I got this watch specifically to celebrate the people that got me into watches. And I got a Timex because he used to wear a Timex, and he did it for so long that I got no doubts I'll keep this watch working in my collection for a while. Here we go. It's actually pretty well wrapped. I'm gonna flip the camera so you guys can see this better. Okay, here we go, guys. What have we got here? Timex Group USA Inc. Timex is a registered trademark of Timex Group USA Inc. in the US and other countries. I promise I can read, guys, but this writing is so small that I can barely read it through the camera. Anyway, we're gonna open up this box. I think this slides out. So this is the box. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a box within a box. And in this box, we have the Timex logo here. And I'm pretty psyched to be adding a Timex to my collection. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen, a box within a box. Now, the box on the inside feels a lot nicer than the box on the outside. This is cardboard, and this has a rubbery feel to it. It feels similar to that high quality plastic or paper Invicta was using. Anyway, let's have a look at the watch. This is the Timex Q, ladies and gentlemen. Or the Q Timex, whatever you want to call it. It looks so vintage, I'm not gonna lie. Oh. Now this is a touch that I love. You can swap your battery with a coin, and that's as 70s as it gets, man. Anyway, this has actually got some plastics here in the front, and I totally failed at grabbing that. That was very satisfying, actually. It's a day-date quartz watch made by Timex, and this is a reissue. It's not the original Timex Q. Now, I'm actually pretty curious to see if the seconds hand hits the markers. Okay, so sometimes the seconds hands hits the markers, other times it don't. But we're gonna keep going just to see how this performs all the way up until the very end. Failed. 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 Oh, that's horrible. Okay. Okay. So it's completely failing the seconds markers. It's completely failing these dots from here to here. But then it performs pretty well around here. I don't know what's going on over here. But this was a cheap watch. I'm not gonna lie. This is cheap, cheerful, and cool looking. That's the only way I have of describing this watch. Anyway, let's move on. The bracelet is adjustable, which I think is quite nice. In order to adjust the clasp, it's pretty simple. You basically just lift this here. You can do it with your finger. So once this is lifted, this will slide. And essentially, you want to put it in the end. So not in the middle, otherwise it won't lock. You put it in your desired position. Mine was right there, I believe. And it's in the end. No. Now it's in the end. And boom, you just lock the watch like that. So that's how you adjust the bracelet. I'm just gonna check to see if I nailed that. And I did. And it feels very 70s. You hear this rattling sound. I only have one other watch from the 70s, I believe, which is the one I'm using right now. And you can see, it makes the same sounds. Look at this. This is a 70s watch. This is a reissue of a 70s watch. And I think they nailed it when it comes to the build because it feels and looks super 70s. Now, some people on the reviews that I watched said this was a low quality bracelet, but I actually really like it. I think one of my main advantages for not having an issue with this bracelet is the fact that it feels really solid. Look at this. It feels super solid in the hand. So it doesn't feel cheap, although this was a very cheap watch. And as you can see by the precision of the movement here, it's not that precise. But it feels well built. It goes both ways. So you can either spin it this way or like that. And it feels more like a sliding of the bezel rather than a clicking of the bezel. When it comes to the motion, it feels like I'm sliding the bezel. So I think, in my opinion, this could very easily move if we're using this for timing functions. So imagine I put this here, and then, for example, my coat touches this. I think my coat could easily spin this like this, or like this, and make whatever I'm measuring not that precise anymore. But nevertheless, I think it's a really cool feature to have here. So the watch is a day date. The only thing wrong here is the day. Okay. I thought it was this way, but it's actually that way. What's the time? The time is 10, 10, 15, 17. Okay, so that's the time. Ah, the hand just jumped a little bit. That's not nice. It's really nice that this watch has got hacking. As you can see, I'm setting the time and the seconds hand is still. So that's nice. Anyway, the minutes hand jumps a little bit when I press the crown. It lacks a little bit of quality in the build of the watch. For the price that I paid for it, I'm more than happy to add this to my collection. And we're gonna see how this looks right now. Beautiful piece. Having said this, I don't feel like I have to add any more watches to my collection because I'm pretty much happy, fulfilled, and that's the way the world works. Now, under wrist, ladies and gentlemen, and outside with natural lighting, this watch looks amazing. Now, I ended up getting this watch because I didn't want to damage my Invicta. I felt like that was too precious. And this is the step down that I found from my Invicta. It's quartz, it's got an acrylic crystal, and overall, I'm surprised by how well my cheap option looks. It almost makes me feel like this is not my cheap option anymore. But it is, because this watch was way less than 100 euros. And although they mark it for 189, I don't think it's worth that price. I'll buy it on the 100 euro mark or less, which is precisely what I did. This watch is marketed with 50 meters of water resistance, but the battery is very exposed and you don't have a screw-in crown. So I wouldn't be using this as a watch for diving. I'd just be using this as your standard watch, which you're not worried about getting wet. And essentially, you know it's gonna survive being in the rain and stuff like that. But diving with this watch, I don't know if I would. The Lume is way better than I thought, guys. Look at this. It might not be the best Lume that I've seen on a watch, but it's way better than my Invicta. Look at this. I can actually see the time in the dark. And that, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much brings us to the very end of today's unboxing, first impressions, slight adjustments on the Timex Q. I hope you have enjoyed it. Personally, I'm super excited with this watch. And I think the only video that's left to do is the full video on my watch collection, which here I've got 7 watches like I've mentioned at the beginning of the video. But in total, I think I got way more than 7 watches. So I think eventually I'll be getting rid of a few that I don't use anymore, just so I can stick to 7. I think that is the right number for me when it comes to collecting. I did that with shoes, I did that with bicycles, and I did it with watches, so it feels right for me. Anyway, I'm gonna love you and leave you. This is the very end. I wish you the rest of an amazing day. This is your boy logging out. Peace.